Hello and welcome to the second ever F2 virtual race event. Now, last week we were in Bahrain and it was incredibly entertaining. So we've decided we're going to do it all over again. Tonight we head to the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya, and I'm glad to say that joining me in the Gfinity Arena, the home of F2 racing in virtual sense, is the one and only Mr. Alex Jakes and Matt Gallagher. Gentlemen, how are you feeling tonight about getting into this race?
Absolutely hyped for this one, Tom, especially after what we saw last time with such fantastic racing all the way through the field. It's very, very competitive. But once again, and sense the theme here, you've got to beat a Leclerc if you're going to stand on the top step.
Indeed. Matt, obviously it was fast and furious, both races in F2. People are very excited about it. Can you see other drivers stepping up to potentially beat Artur?
Look, I'm not going to force them to come and join this race, but I think the action for itself speaks volumes. So I'm really excited to see how the drivers fare around Spain. It's a difficult and a more different track to what they had last time out, so let's see how they do. Indeed.
For those of you new to it, let's have a look at the format. This is where it comes down to the nitty-gritty. One-shot qualification, which is happening right now. 16-lap feature race, 5-lap sprint race, and then reverse top 8 grid for that important sprint race. And also, in terms of the rules, equal car performance, vehicle damage is off, driver assists available, strict track limits, and clear weather, which is very interesting. How much of a difference is that going to make, gentlemen, tonight?
Oh, clear weather. I mean, God, these guys have got a little holiday, haven't they? They've got the sun out. They're going to enjoy themselves. No real tricky track conditions, but I think we're still going to see a few spins.
OK, a few spins. Matt, I won't mention you obviously featuring in a race recently, but we'll get your tips very shortly. Let's have a look at the driver lineup tonight. When we start with Jack Doohan, Norman Nato, a whole lineup there. But I've got to ask, Alex, Sebastian Montoya, join us. What do we know about him?
Well, he's a very young driver, but he's the son of the brilliant Formula One driver, Juan Pablo Montoya, and showing quite a bit of his dad's talent. So great to have him in the mix this evening. He will be racing this year in Formula 4. So great to see Montoya back on the grid. And if he's anything like his father, he will be box office.
Yeah, and then what about Artur Leclerc winning back-to-back races? Obviously, a great way to start for Sebastian Montoya alongside a teammate who's absolutely dominating.
Yeah, great benchmark with Leclerc, and it will be interesting to see whether he can replicate his pretty much unbeatable form around this Barcelona circuit.
OK, now we move on there. Now, anyone in the F1 Esports Pro Series will know the voice of that man there, but the 2012 winner, Davide Valsecchi, how much of a sim racer is he, guys?
I have no idea. I genuinely have no idea, but I am so excited. I hope we can speak to him during the race.
It's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be phenomenal. I think he's only got the sim this week. So we know how it works with Davide Valsecchi. It is always hugely entertaining and absolutely brilliant. I think we're going to see exactly the same from his sim racing as we see from his commentary.
Yeah, I'm expecting to see a lot of leadership from Davide. Interesting enough, Guan Yu Zhou joins the F2 virtual race for the first time. He finished third in the feature race last year in the Spanish Grand Prix. So in terms of what he can add, we know how good he is as a sim racer.
Yeah, Joe's very, very quick. We've seen that already from the virtual GP. I think that he'll be one to potentially take it to Leclerc. It really depends on how much time these guys have actually put into practicing, because it's not as simple as picking up and playing. And these guys all have talent. They just have to nurture it into the game.
Indeed. Well, listen, last year in the feature race, he finished second. That is Jack Aitken. Now, we need to know the ins and outs of where the race will be won and lost, and he has given us the inside track.
Hi, I'm Jack Aitken, and these are my key corners for the Circuit de Catalunya. We're here at turn 1. You're coming in with DRS on, highest speed on the whole circuit. You have to try and carry as much speed as you can through this long S section.
Oh, he's off the road!
Turns 4 and 5 really characterise the long flowing nature of the circuit. So you've got quite a high speed right-hander here, and then you're getting the car over to the right as quickly as possible to get prepared for turn 5. So we're here at turn 10. It's the start of sector 3, so you really want to set yourself up well for the end of the lap here. But it's very important to make sure you get the car stopped and rotated as quickly as possible.
Here comes De Vries. A fantastic move. Leclerc, a long alongside Guan Yu Zhou, 19 laps, and we're underway with a good getaway from the pole sitter. Arthur Leclerc leads Norman Nato, who was very competitive last time out, and Zhou looks like he's getting shuffled down. Yeah, he's gone from second down to third. In fourth, the Rimzendelli and the Trident there. Are they all going to get through the first couple of turns? All very well behaved. They're thinking of the long game. All of them on the soft tyres at the moment. Davide Valsecchi in 16th position and heading off into the background there. One of the cars heading off, I think it was Juan Manuel Correa who was struggling, and cars spinning in front in the ART there, so a bit of chaos to bring out the yellow flag. Meanwhile, out front though, Matt, dream getaway, and we gave him the big build-up. Arthur Leclerc once again looking the driver to beat.
Yeah, crucial for Norman Nato to separate Zhou and Leclerc, 'cause it looks like Zhou has got the better pace as he's following through this middle sector. We'll have a chance into this next hairpin if he can get a good run. No DRS just yet. We're on lap 1, but Leclerc 6/10 ahead. He's going to start gapping if Zhou cannot get through on Nato.
I think it was Juan Manuel Correa who was having the spin at the exit of turn number 3. He's still going though, and you can see plenty of talented drivers in the field. Louis Delatraz in 6th place, Ollie Rowland is 5th, then you get to Zendelli, and then the driver you're looking at right now, Guan Yu Zhou, the Chinese driver, the winner of the Bahrain Virtual Grand Prix, now taking part in the F2 event. He'll be with this team in the real thing in 2020, but he's got work to do as he goes across the line. On to lap 2, Leclerc ahead of Nato, and then it's Zhou. Zhou desperately trying to reclaim the second position that he had on the grid, and if he gets his braking right, surely the position is here, but it's not really a heavy braking zone. That's a great move, all things considered, to move up to 2nd place.
Crucial move for Zhou. Now he has to stay within that second of Arthur Leclerc, and we may have a fantastic battle for these next 17 laps. I did notice that a few people are running the hard tyres, so we've got that element of strategy. I think Jack Aitken was one of them, who was up in P5, I think, at one point, but he seems to have dropped down with an instant. Davide Valsecchi, would he be Davide without having his name in capital letters? I think that fits his personality just perfectly. In 12th at the moment, you know, people forget that he is a champion of GP2 as it was known, and he has the talent, he has the skill, and it seems to be pretty much transferring over to the game, but it all takes a lot of time, Alex.
Certainly does. You have to learn the intricacies. The former Lotus reserve driver, and didn't get his opportunity. Oh, going very wide in the background there and just about getting away with it. I think that was Ollie Caldwell who was using quite a bit of the road. This is Louis Delatraz. We're having a look at how hard, how intense the concentration is for Louis Delatraz there as he tries to improve past Ollie Rowland, who's in the dams, the Navy car in front. Louis Delatraz with the team that he will race with in 2020, and Delatraz needs a good exit as they go back onto the main straight, and a good lap this from Guan Yu Zhou to stay roughly around a second from Arthur Leclerc, the race leader, as we check in once again with Delatraz trying to get on terms with Ollie Rowland.
I was trying to work out if Louis Delatraz has the biggest, widest monitor I've ever seen in my life. It went on forever. And he's using the Fanatec Direct Drive 2-wheel as well, which is one of the top ones to really get the feel in this Codemasters F1 game. So obviously these are the F2 cars, but it's still within the Formula 1 game. Zhou just staying within a second, as you can see. Zendelli as well, not really too slow at all, closing in on Norman Nato. And yeah, as you look down the field, you can see Callum Ilot's dropped off the back of Dragovic for P7, so 3.6 seconds. Potentially, we'll hopefully get an onboard with these drivers to see whether they're running on the hards. Most of them are running on the softs, so we should see pit stops in the next few laps, but the hard tyres should run for a good sort of 12, 13 laps. So interesting to see how this all shakes out towards the end of the race.
Yeah, Zendelli going very nicely at the moment. He will be a Formula 3 driver in 2020 with the Trident team that he's racing today, virtually in Formula 2. He's a former German Formula 4 champion, very highly rated, and hoping to prove that after a bit of a difficult debut campaign in Formula 3 last year. Going nicely today, though, as he tries to close down the gap to Norman Nato, who crossed the line first in the second race in Bahrain, but got a 3-second penalty along the way. We're going to have this feature race and then a sprint race for the action to bring to you today, and you can see that we're looking further down the order there. That was, I think here he comes, Davide Valsecchi. Taking a little bit, trying to get the widest possible line on the way in. Now, if you're wondering how to do a Davide Valsecchi impression at home, you need a few basic things. You need to bit of clapping off mic, and then whenever Matt starts talking, you need to go, yeah! and then just pure enthusiasm. He is the best commentator in the world. He brings all that enthusiasm you feel as a kid to the commentary box. And I've known him to be asked by a producer to be heading out the door once before, Matt, and he's still shouting, yes! in the background. He is a marvel, and he's holding his own at the moment, going very nicely. 14th position. And he's slipped back after a decent opening. So Valsecchi tries to make progress. But meanwhile, we've got a battle for the lead. And Guan Yu Zhou, who has shown so much pace, so solid at the front, whether in virtual Grand Prix, whether in Formula 2, he is very much up to speed with this F1 2019 game. We're playing the F2 mode within it, and he has designs on the race lead. He was third last year, but led so many laps in the feature races. You see him trying to control the wheel spin there. And he's trying to make amends virtually for what slipped away from his grasp 1 year ago. As we see a little bit of dirt kicked up from Arthur Leclerc. And Ollie Rowland has a 3-second time penalty. Remember what we heard from Tom at the start of the program. Track limits will be strictly enforced. And there's the evidence for you. So Ollie Rowland running in 4th position. He is struggling. Now, focusing on this battle for the lead, Guan Yu Zhou with the UNI Virtuosi team that he will race with in 2020, forcing the defensive move from the Ferrari Academy driver Arthur Leclerc. He's off the racing line that he wants. It's all getting very, very busy indeed between Rowland and then Zendelli, who was very lucky indeed to stay in the right direction. And I don't think Louis Delatraz did. Delatraz falling back down the order as we've got a battle for the lead. This is pure F2 now. Action absolutely everywhere. Guan Yu Zhou can't find a way through, but you can see his confidence right now, Matt. He is all over the back of the Prema.
These two class of the field at the moment, lap 5 of 19. Maybe the undercut will be the deciding factor in this race, but Zhou definitely looks the quickest. It's just such a difficult track to overtake. I mean, I say that, but then Zhou then took a P2 into turn 1, which was a fantastic move, and not one you usually see because it's not a particularly hard braking zone. A double DRS zone as well on this track, and Zhou has got his rear wing wide open right now, trying to close in on Leclerc, but nothing doing into this hairpin. But yeah, through this last sector, it's very much just hoping through that last chicane you can get a good enough run down towards turn 1. That's pretty much your best opportunity, or the one we just saw into that hairpin.
Oh, drifting his way through the final sector of the lap. And Guan Yu Zhou needs to perfect the exit here. You could see how difficult it was to overtake into turn 1 because Delatraz had to risk one, paid the price, and instead of battling for P4, finds himself tumbling down the order. Back to the contest for first position between Zhou and Leclerc. And let's have a look once again, close but not close enough into the braking zone of turn 1. Meanwhile, bit of a train further down the order. Larim Zendelli and Ollie Rowland swapping positions. So this is getting very, very tight. And looking at Jack Doohan, who has swapped teams from the HWA team to the Carlin. And it is very, very tight in the middle of the pack there. So Dragovic in 6th. As we go back, oh, that would be risky. Huge risk now in the battle for the lead. And he's caught out. Leclerc unaware. Guan Yu Zhou takes the lead. And that is really nicely done from the Chinese driver. Did not want to wait for a traditional overtaking opportunity. And he's gone deep, so we're about to go side by side. Oh, very nearly spinning there in the Prema as they go into turn number 9. Zhou looked like he'd got the job done, but back into the lead goes Leclerc. They're battling corner after corner, and they're going down to turn number 10. Inside line for the Monegasque driver. Keeps the race lead at the moment, but this is getting very, very touchy. Oh, and Zhou spun him round. Guan Yu Zhou spins round Arthur Leclerc to take the lead in controversial circumstances.
This is going to bring Norman Nato into play because I can't see Zhou getting away with anything. Well, to be fair, the game didn't hand him out a penalty, but right now, Zhou, you can't really put any other blame apart from onto him.
There it is.
3-second time penalty. That's for multiple warnings. I think that's for something completely different. I think that's more for the corner cutting that potentially he was doing. But either way, that promotes Norman Nato to the provisional race lead with Ollie Rowland, even though he has that penalty, into the pits and could potentially still sneak a podium.
So very interesting to see how it plays out. It's pit stop time, the end of lap number 6. And that's the earliest opportunity they can come into. So Guan Yu Zhou never really liked that on track, but I think he just had enough of looking at the back of that Prema. So he's out on his own, and now he knows that he's going to have to build. He's got a 1.6 second lead at the moment. He needs to get that out beyond the 3-second margin. Juan Manuel Correa's got a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. And so you can see, having come into the pits, Ollie Rowland, Larim Zendelli, Felipe Dragovic and Arthur Leclerc, who will be fuming with the manner that he lost the lead there. Checking in with Jack Doohan. And he's come out of the pits right now in 13th position, the driver who will be racing for HWA in Formula 3 in 2020. Had a few issues on the technical side 1 week ago, so good that we're able to see him on the track, the son of the 5-time 500cc title winner Mick Doohan, and following in his father's footsteps, but only with 4 wheels rather than 2, and he can get after Louis Delatraz, who's another driver to have suffered a spin in a fairly entertaining 7 laps that we've run so far.
So Joe doesn't seem to have as much pace as he dives into the pits, as you can see on our screens. Is Norman Nato going to carry on? He does indeed for another lap. I was just about to say, Joe, on the end of this tyre span, particularly struggling and not really pulling away from Nato, but he's in the pits now. Will that have shaken him up a little bit with the fact that he had that incident? Of course, there is no damage, meaning that there isn't any damage to his car after that little nudge on Leclerc, who is down in P10 now behind Zendelli, but I still think that Arthur Leclerc will be able to fight back, potentially with the penalties being applied. 3 seconds to Joe. I mean, they're very closely contested, a lot of these guys, so I feel like Joe, unless he has an amazing stint, will lose a few positions towards the end of this race.
Larim Zendelli getting close and moving up there to 8th position. So Larim Zendelli looking good after making the move. And it's Nato, then Aitken, and then Valsecchi. Aylott in 4th, Ollie Caldwell in 5th, on board with Norman Nato. So a driver who lost his win a week ago after getting that penalty now looks like he might benefit, but these laps are so important as he makes his way through. The alternative strategy being run by Sun drivers. You can see that Nato is on those soft tyres. He's a winner in the 2nd tier around this circuit. Pulled an amazing move at turn 10 on Pierre Gasly back in 2016 to win the opening race of the year. So he is a winner around here in the real thing, trying to replicate that. And now he comes in for the crucial pit stop. So his tyres will be 2 laps newer, younger, and he will be attempting to go all the way to the end with the position that he comes into the pits, which is P1 at the moment, as he waits for boys in blue. There they are, the Carlin team.
Just been applying my GCSE maths, and it looks like Leclerc's not out of this. 8.5 seconds behind Joe. Joe has a 3-second penalty, still 10 laps to go. So if Arthur Leclerc can pull off a few very tasty moves on Zendelli and Ollie Rowland, if he can catch him, of course, then this could still be a fight for the lead, as Jack Aitken now takes the lead on those harder compound of tyres, as there's a move going into turn 1.
Yeah, I think that was Guan Yu Zhou getting past Ollie Caldwell. There we go, we join that at the moment.
Separate strategies, though.
Yeah, so making it stick and able to run at his pace. Ollie Caldwell, the 17-year-old Brit, will be contesting Formula 3 with the Trident team this year. So there's Callum Aylott, who will be in the same team as Guan Yu Zhou. So teammates in the game and teammates in real life, on board with Ollie Caldwell, who's had some promising results further down the ladder, and interested to see what he can do with a team that has taken multiple victories in Formula 3 and GP3 before that. And you see how hard Guan Yu Zhou is pushing right now, really taking a bit of a risk on the exit of turn number 9 into the final sector, which is, if you ever get a chance to go to testing, absolutely fantastic. You get a brilliant panoramic view of the cars for about 20 seconds here. It is a fantastic place to watch anything. Formula 1, Formula 2, it's a really good place to see the direction change around here.
It's only 3 drivers on the alternative strategy: Jack Aitken, Callum Aylott and Ollie Caldwell. Surprised that a few others didn't go for the harder compound of tyres, just to throw in something into the mix. But lots of guys thinking that the soft to the harder will be the quickest, and I guess, yeah, well, you want to make as many positions as you possibly can. And another position is Joe on Callum Aylott, his teammate. Very easy into turn 1.
That'll be satisfying, won't it, for Guan Yu Zhou? I know it's only the game, but this is going to be a battle that could well define the 2020 Formula 2 season. And with the different strategies, you can see Callum Aylott, yeah, not yet to stop. And Callum Ilott down to third. Guan Yu Zhou up to second position. As we check in with Norman Nato there, one of his old crash helmets behind, but he's looking pretty chilled, pretty relaxed right now.
A lot more chill than he'd be in the cockpit, I can guarantee you that. Yes, it just takes so much more focus when you're in a simulator. It was a conversation we had maybe a few shows ago about the comparisons of doing it in real life and doing it on the simulator. It's two completely different levels of focus, because you can get so easily distracted when you're at home. You've got those relaxing things around you, whether it's, you know, the guys from F1 Esports and they have their mascots and things to calm themselves down, whereas, you know, it does take another level of competitiveness and concentration from these guys. But Norman Nato doing a fantastic job up in P4 at the moment. 2.6 seconds behind Zhou, with Ollie Caldwell just behind, but he's yet to stop. Ollie Rowland, don't forget, he's got a 3-second time penalty, which will put him behind Zendelli. And Arthur Leclerc slowly but surely closing in on P7, but maybe not as quick as I expected. And Zhou, crucially, has 6 cars between them.
Yeah, nearly taking off Guan Yu Zhou there as he came out of the final corner. He got a really nice feel for the circuit. It's a time penalty there for Nobu Matsushita, and he finds himself down the order, hugely experienced in the second tier, and a 3-second time penalty for Norman Nato. And so now the drivers in contention at the front, Ollie Rowland, Guan Yu Zhou and Norman Nato, all with the same penalty. So that cancels each other out, and so it is back to an on-track battle rather than looking at the timing pages. Still Jack Aitken leads, yet to stop. Same applies to Callum Ilott, same applies to Ollie Caldwell as they try something different. Davide Valsecchi having a good battle with Sebastian Montoya, and he's ahead of him for the moment, but only 0.2 of a second. They're both behind Jack Doohan.
Yeah, crucial for Norman Nato. You say 3 seconds, that just blows it wide open again, with Zhou now in the lead technically after everything's applied. And I wonder if Norman Nato didn't even know about that 3-second time penalty, because, you know, it's very easy to say from the commentary box, but if I were him, you know, just keep it within that 3 seconds, and then, well, to be fair, it's 2.8, so maybe he just sees that gap slowly but surely edging out, and he thinks, right, I need to push this hard. But just to quickly kind of give everybody sort of an idea as to the strict track limits, you know, what you're probably watching going, they're not cutting, they're not flying over the curbs, but with this, you put any more than 2 wheels over the white lines and just extend, even there, we just see the bird's eye view potentially going over those white lines, and that's a warning, and then 3 warnings, you get a penalty. So it's very strict, very harsh, and I'm quite happy to see it after China, where we saw the complete opposite, and the more creative side of the drivers coming out then.
So back to Norman Nato, who's made his way up to 3rd position there. So we're not making a big deal of that because Callum Ilott has yet to come in to the pit, so he's not in a real 4th place at the moment. He's got to come in and make his mandatory stop. Same applies to the race leader, but they will get the tyre compound advantage of the red-walled soft rubber at the end to try and fight their way back through. At the moment, on reverse grid pole, Larim Zendelli. So we reverse the top 8 on the grid for the second quick sprint race with vastly reduced laps, and then you see plenty of drivers with banzai moves in that one, really giving it everything to try and overtake. And that's how Norman Nato got his penalty last time. 3-second penalty last time for Nato. Same again has happened today, but the same applies to Zhou as well as Ollie Rowland. And you can see how old the tyres are from the graphic on the left-hand side, as those who have gone a very long way on the hard tyres will think about now coming into the pits to get use of that soft tyre and be able to push every single lap. Arthur Leclerc, 1-time race leader before he was spun round by Guan Yu Zhou, who did get a penalty for spinning round Leclerc, but at the moment he's still done enough to win the race. Ollie Caldwell has come into the pits. I think you can expect the same for Ilott and Aitken this time around.
Crucially for Arthur Leclerc, now up to P6, so he got past Zendelli and Caldwell into the pits, so a few less cars to worry about, but still will have to dispatch of Ollie Rowland if he wants any sort of chance of attacking the front 2. But for now, it looks like a pretty healthy lead. I just wonder if Joe and Nato both know that each other have got a penalty. That's going to be the interesting one. Will they push too hard and then apply another penalty to their own race time? Because you never know, and it's such fine margins with these track limits. So you push a bit too hard, you get slapped on the wrists. Right now, Joe, 3.6 seconds, so slowly but surely creeping away from Norman Nato. And Callum Ilott doing a pretty good job, but I wonder where he's going to come out, probably around 11th or 12th after his pit stop. Jack Aitken still leading this race, and at this stage I guess he'd be hoping for some sort of rain, but unfortunately clear weather is going to stop that.
Yeah, rain or a safety car or anything in usual F2 circumstances, but felt the need to go the other way. A driver who's been on the podium around here before. Oh, it's very nearly a spin. It is a spin for Callum Ilott into the wall. On those old tyres, and no grip available when he applied the throttle. Round he goes, driving Luca Giotto's old car, and Ilott tumbles down the order before he makes his stop. Felipe Dragovic momentarily getting past. He will get past now, up to 7th position, and Ilott will trundle back to the pits to make his mandatory stop. And Aitken's in as well.
What a shame. It's literally his last lap, I think, on those tyres. Yes, it is. And he spins in the last sector. That's going to hurt. And I don't think he's going to be coming out in P12 this time after my prediction. Does that count as a commentator's curse? I don't know. But it happened a little bit later on. But he's in the pits now, which will probably put him down towards the back of the grid, towards where Davide Valsecchi is in P15. And Ollie Caldwell, 3-second time penalty. They're all starting to apply with all the warnings that they've been stacking up. And towards the end of the race, that's where the penalties really do start to rack up. So they've got to do as they're told and not start corner cutting. There's Arthur Leclerc. P4, 8 tenths behind Ollie Rowland now, so he is putting himself very much in the fight for P2. Will he get to P1? Well, he'll have to dispatch of Norman Nato to close in that gap. So 2 overtakes required for Arthur Leclerc to then hunt down Guan Yu Zhou.
He was absolutely devastating in the final stages of the sprint race a week ago around Bahrain. Totally different circuit, this one. You heard the beep in the background. That's because he's within a second of the Dams driver, Ollie Rowland, with this French team back in 2017. And you can see wide into turn 10 to give so much encouragement to Leclerc, who's all over the back of him right now. So he's going to try and duck through before we get to the next DRS zone, which is on the main straight. But has Leclerc looked after his tyres, and can he come back into play with still a fair amount of time to go, especially when you're having to deal with tyre wear? Larim Zendelli with a very creditable 5th place within his grasp at the moment, behind good advantage over Dragovic, and not really on terms with this battle. But Leclerc, here's the first driver he needs to get past. He's racing Ollie Rowland down into turn 1. Rowland knows that he needs to look after those tyres. Don't think he can fight back, and you see going deep there. It's a risky move. It always is a risky move into turn 1, but that's nicely done from the Monegasque driver. And the next car up the road has a 3-second time penalty. He is targeting Norman Nato.
Yep, so he needs 1 second if he wants to settle for P2, but I don't imagine Arthur Leclerc will, after having taste of victory twice last time out. So he'll be trying to catch up to the front 2. Jack Aitken should be pretty rapid on those soft tyres. He came out in P8, so right now that's reverse grid pole, but I don't think he'll want to stay there on those particularly grippy soft tyres. So I imagine he'll probably close in on Delatraz and Dragovic by the end of this race. So it'll be interesting to see how that gap comes down over the laps. But it was 4.7 when I last looked, it's now 3.5. So I imagine at the very least Jack's going to get fastest lap,
which in F2 normally would be good enough for 2 extra points for his championship challenge that he hopes to put together this year with the Campos team. The unmissable orange cars out on track. So Guan Yu Zhou knows that he cannot afford to trigger another penalty, because that would make things very tight indeed. And we'll see if Arthur Leclerc can close in on... And has Nato made a mistake? Has Nato made a mistake? He's tumbling down the order. Norman Nato heading backwards. So the grip is reducing here, and Nato heading backwards. Arthur Leclerc now up to 2nd place. Now Ollie Rowland up to 3rd, but of course he's got that 3-second penalty hanging over him. I don't remember seeing a time penalty for Larim Zendelli, and there is Norman Nato down in 5th.
That must have been at the last chicane. He must have had a little spin there as he's down to P5, as you say. So it's now free free rein for Arthur Leclerc to try and close that down to 3 seconds. He's got a huge task, 5 seconds in 3 laps. They're pretty much exactly the same in terms of their tyre wear, or at least the lifespan of their tyres. It's going to be a huge, monumental effort. But then, you know, in the back of Joe's mind, he may be thinking, I don't want another penalty. So that gap may come down over these next few laps. Norman Nato, what a shame. He was having such a brilliant race. Obviously, he does have that penalty. But apart from that, he's really been showing some extremely good pace. Jack Aitken is also showing some fastest laps, 1.3 seconds now behind. And every time I see that, multiple warnings down the bottom, I just wonder it's for one of the front guys. But it's for Sean Gallale down in P14.
Yeah, Sean Gallale, the other dams in the contest today. They're on board with Norman Nato, who had his dramas around this part of the racetrack. It's a 4.6 kilometre, 2.8 mile circuit. Back with the race leader. Look at the advantage. This is the sort of advantage he had in the virtual Grand Prix in Bahrain, where we checked in on him occasionally. Louis Delatraz with a 3-second time penalty. But once again, this is dominant stuff. And it was a 3rd place in the virtual Grand Prix for Guan Yu Zhou when he finished behind Stoffel Van Dorn on track, but Van Dorn got a penalty. So he has been very, very tidy behind the wheel in anything that he's raced on. Now let's have a look at the battle between Ollie Caldwell and it's Montoya and Ollie Caldwell. No, Ollie Caldwell, I'll get there in the end, Mac, but bear with me. Jack Doohan, Ollie Caldwell, side by side, down the main straight, and Ollie Caldwell with that tyre advantage up to the top 10 positions, and the Trident gets past.
Yeah, it was quite difficult to see, wasn't it, in that bird's eye view? Very similar colours, but here we go. You were saying, you know, Guan Yu Zhou dominating, but that incident. I wonder if the stewards were here in full force in terms of looking at each and every incident whether Zhou would have been slapped with a penalty, because, you know, Leclerc and Zhou were very, very close, and it has to be said, whether that was due to slipstream or DRS, Zhou looked like the quicker driver. But either way, it was unfortunate and sad to see that incident happen, because I think that battle would have gone fully through the race. Louis Delatraz, P8, and with that penalty, he will still be on reverse grid pole, thankfully, so he's putting enough pace to gap to P9. And Jack Aitken has got through now. Can he close on Dragovic in these next couple of laps? He has got the tyre advantage, but whether it's 2.5 seconds is yet to be seen.
Hey, Jack Aitken getting past Louis Delatraz. Still a front row start for the 2nd race, the sprint race, coming up in a few moments' time as we finish with this one. So Guan Yu Zhou on his penultimate lap of the race with that 3-second time penalty, but with the advantage that counts. And it's one of those where he would not have done it deliberately, but it's worked out wonderfully for him, even with that time penalty. So the Chinese driver working beautifully away at the wheel, and he's been the class of the field at the moment. Okay, Montoya, Sebastian Montoya, trying to keep Callum Ilott behind. Callum Ilott with the DRS open, weaving left and right, and Montoya manages to take a position there. So Montoya getting past Jack Doohan along with Callum Ilott. Callum Ilott trying to take 2 cars in 2 corners, going the long way round and running out of grip. Good momentum off the corner for Jack Doohan. Can't make the advantage pay, and that is Montoya up to 11th.
A shame for Callum Ilott, because he would have had a chance to potentially, with my predictions, maybe get towards Delatraz without that spin, with those soft compound tyres as well, which would, as we've mentioned, be reverse grid pole, which is very crucial for this bit of carnage that we've got coming up. Zhou is just starting his final lap. 8.2 seconds. Arthur Leclerc, I don't think he's really pushing at this stage. It's not a surmountable advantage that, gap, sorry, that Leclerc's trying to close in on. Roland, he's got a penalty. Zendelli, we don't think he has one, do we? It's quite difficult to keep.
I don't think we've seen him with a penalty.
So that will promote him to the podium.
So that will be a podium.
Oh, Arthur Leclerc's got a 3-second penalty.
There we go. There we go.
Oh, there you go. I say he's not pushing, and then immediately gets a penalty.
Evidence that he was almost getting 1 penalty. Absolute par for the course. Don't worry about it. It's the 2nd one.
Oh
no! Arthur Leclerc has retired from the race on the final lap.
What's happened?
Well, he's done a Mika Hakkinen.
There's no damage. So what's happened here?
Huge frustration for Arthur Leclerc. He was spun round from the race lead. We didn't get to see the battle between him and this driver, Guan Yu Zhou, who got away with it. 3-second time penalty for him at this corner. Could have been a lot more. I think it was, if it was the real thing, it would have been a lot more. But he's got away with that one. Put in a dominant performance either side of the pit stop. He has been the class of the field and then some, and he has been pushing all the way through, drifting through corners, but with supreme pace all the way. Larim Zendelli's going to get promoted to second place, but Guan Yu Zhou with one corner to go. He's won a virtual Grand Prix this year, and he comes across the line to win virtually in Formula 2. What a superb performance for him across those 19 laps. Ollie Rowland's going to go over the line, but when you slap him with that 3-second penalty, Larim Zendelli will take a very, very strong second place. There you go, it's confirmed on the left-hand side. Ollie Rowland with a penalty, though, but that race was all about the driver in your picture. A worthy winner after a bit of controversy as well. Guan Yu Zhou with a supreme performance.
All Joe needs to do now is head into the F1 esports race, and he'll have the clean sweep of every single virtual Grand Prix we've been doing. So, yeah, fantastic drive. He's the class of the field, along with Arthur Leclerc, of course. Those two were so quick. It's such a shame that Leclerc DNF'd at the end there. Must have been a technical issue or something. But what a shame. Zendelli, though, great result from him. No penalties, and Ollie Rowland P3. So, a decent little podium there.
Very, very interesting there. Théo Pourchaire will be on reverse grid pole if all the penalties shake out. Tom, entertaining stuff as ever from Formula 2.
Indeed, I have to say, brilliant second F2 outing in the virtual world this evening. I tell you what, though, one word, penalties. Where do you even begin to analyse the penalties? Simple mistakes being made at one point. Korea getting a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Yeah. Surely, if you can iron out these penalties, I don't know, there would be a better drive from everyone.
Well, Larim Zendelli there showing the advantage of keeping it clean and just keeping it on the tarmac. Although, if you look at Guan Yu Zhou's point of view, spinning around his rival, actually perfect for him. He was then able to use the clean air and pull away from the rest of the field. So maybe the penalty, he took the 3 seconds, but in the end, he comfortably won that race.
He did indeed. He definitely punted Arthur Leclerc, would you say, Matt? Was that the tactics? Is that tactics we can see more of?
Yeah, I think that's the definitive term, punted, because obviously it wasn't on purpose, but it was such a shame to see that battle finish so early. But yeah, I think maybe in real life that would have been more than 3 seconds. But either way, yeah, Zhou was the winner.
Yeah, and what we said before, he obviously has that sim racing experience from the F1 Virtual Grand Prix back in Bahrain, champion there. We've seen the expertise, the level of ability from these drivers, but such a shame that Arthur Leclerc didn't get to finish that race.
Yeah, huge shame.
Yeah, it was.
One of the quickest guys.
And he deserved the place that he got himself into, because it's very easy to lose your head and get very frustrated after being spun round. And I thought he recovered really, really well. I still think he, on paper, there's certain tracks that we might be going to with F2, he looks one of the strongest. But what a response from Guan Yu Zhou there. Yeah, indeed. Now, listen, the Spanish Grand Prix, we know it's difficult to have moments in the track where you can overtake. It looks like when we go into this sprint race, penalties will be the way to overtake.
Oh, God, I don't know what's going to happen in this 5-lap race, but I know there's going to be a lot of wheel banging, a lot of side-by-side action. There's no damage, so they can just go for it, can't they? Which is what we like to see. 5 laps. Oh, I don't think I'm ready.
No, but obviously, just for those who are unaware, we're reversing the grid, the top 8. How is that going to work, Alex? What would be the tactics that these drivers need to use going into this race?
Overtake immediately. Get your elbows out. Don't be polite. No strategy. Don't worry about it. It is who is fastest to the flag. So expect a very dramatic first lap, and then expect some last-ditch efforts into turn number 1. Yeah, now, Matt, I've got to ask, obviously, for the technical point of view in the gameplay, where are the areas that you were talking about? That I found it fascinating. The 2 wheels over the white line, then you're getting that warning. Just explain that again for everyone.
Yeah, there's a few areas. I guess, you know, turn 1, you can kind of cut onto the curb. It's just a white line. Essentially, if you're more than 2 wheels are going over there, you get a warning, you get slapped with it. And here we go. Here we go, lights out, and it's time for the second race of the F2 weekend with Louis Delatraz straight up into the lead. Théo Pourchaire, who was on reverse grid pole, going backwards, and that's on the grass there. Pretty risky stuff.
from Dragovic, who's heading backwards. Oh, he risked a lot there by putting it on the grass, but cars left, cars right. There's Carlin heading backwards there as well, but it's Louis Delatraz in the lead from Norman Nato, Jack Aitken in third, and Teo Pourchaire in fourth. Felipe Dragovic in fifth position. Then Ollie Rowland's just been overtaken by Guan Yu Zhou, who's up to sixth, and Larim Zendeli in eighth position as we go down to turn number 5, where we've seen plenty of overtaking already so far today, but Delatraz with the lead at the moment. Norman Nato will be trying to change that.
Arthur Leclerc up to P9 already from the back of the field. Make that P8. He is absolutely flying. I was about to say Joe's got a great chance of winning this and getting back-to-back victories, but Arthur Leclerc has thrown himself into the mix. Jean Galeo gets a 2-second penalty. We're going to see a few more of those as someone in the background doing a bit of a wheelie.
Yeah, I think that was Sebastian Montoya, and it's allowed Callum Ilott to get past at least momentarily. Davide Valsecchi has a 3-second time penalty for cutting the corner and gaining a position. And Valsecchi will have to deal with that. Not what you need, given it's only a 5-lap race. And you'd see that everyone was taking the tightest line possible that they could find. So Delatraz with about half a second of an advantage in the white car as he comes across the lead. Knows he needs to break the toe. Norman Nato trying to keep it clean. And Nato tucked underneath. No DRS available at the moment. Great angle that as they go down to turn number 1. And Jack Aitken trying to stay with these two. Norman Nato in P2 at the moment, trying to put the pressure on. And Louis Delatraz, who's never won a Formula 2 race in the real thing, trying to put that right now. Teo Pourchaire has a 2-second time penalty, less severe. So that's the driver in 4th position. As we continue to see them battling for the race lead. Nato with a lot of confidence right now. Larim Zendeli has a time penalty as well, 2 seconds. Oh, and spinning off in the background there, that's Teo Pourchaire. Oh, that's hugely frustrating for him, spinning out of the points.
Guan Yu Zhou up to P4 already. We've still got a few laps to go, so there's a good chance he'll be ending up on the podium. Jack Aitken just trying to stay with Norman Nato, and, well, Nato's mistake in that first race has put him in prime position to win this one as he started near the front, but right behind Louis Delatraz, 0.3 of a second. You can see now coming through very much this single file last sector, and it's all about that exit going onto the straight. No DRS just yet. And Arthur Leclerc now P6. Ollie Rowland up to P5 as Dragovic has dropped to P7. Lots of moves being made, Alex, and that's exactly what they have to do with, as we go on to lap number 3.
Good lap this from Louis Delatraz. He's managed to keep the gap exactly where it was last time. So you can see fastest lap of the race for him. Nato just one mistake away. The Swiss driver ahead can't afford a wide moment into turn 10, wide moment here where the momentum is so important. Just a chilled Sunday drive for Norman Nato, isn't it? Barely looks concerned at all. Further down the order, Davide Valsecchi in 16th position, Artem Markelov in 18th. Two absolute heroes from Formula 2 and GP2 past. And in the top 8, Montoya, Dragovic, Leclerc with an electric opening lap, and he's only 0.7 of a second away from Ollie Rowland. Then Guan Yu Zhou trying to get back onto the podium. And Guan Yu Zhou has Jack Aitken ahead of him, and we're back with the battle for the lead between Nato and Delatraz. Delatraz pretty much running the same pace so far on each of these 3 laps. He's not going to be left alone. The DRS is going to perhaps change things for the Swiss driver out front. Nato closing in, but not able to close things entirely. You can see, I think that was a glimmer of a smile there from Louis. He knows that if he can just keep it clean, this one, with the difficulty of overtaking around this circuit, is surely in his grasp. But DRS now available, not what he needed in that race lead.
Oh, it's going to be very close indeed. Going through the last chicane, can Delatraz get a decent exit? We're about to see, but it looks like Norman Nato, well, 0.4 now, so he's got a decent exit going down towards turn 1. Make that 0.6 now, so it looks like Louis Delatraz is safe this time going down towards turn 1 as Joe sets the fastest lap of the race. He's closing, but not closing quick enough. He might get Jack Aitken on this last lap as Arthur Leclerc now making a move on Ollie Rowland for P5. This, I'd need to see a replay of lap number 1. It would have been scintillating.
Well, we saw Alex Albon on his stream last week, bouncing up and down in his chair after he took the race lead. What Arthur Leclerc must have been doing when he was going past everyone on that opening lap, that would be brilliant to see. He is up to 5th position, not too far away from Guan Yu Zhou. And 2-second time penalty applied to Theo Pourchaire, who had that spin, which dropped him down the order. He's in 12th position at the moment. So interesting to see how this one's going to pan out between Jack Aitken. So we've got a battle for the lead, we've got a battle for third place, everything being contested. This is the great format at play. That is a serious defensive move thrown by Louis Delatraz. He knows he's under pressure. Nato has nothing to lose now. He doesn't want second place. He wants that race victory. And we're all going to sort it out on the final lap of this second F2 race. Nato just there, the victory just in front of him. He can see it, he can touch it, but he can't quite realise it at the moment. The exit here going to be crucial. Taking as much curve as possible. Little bit of wheel spin there, you heard the lift. Delatraz has, that is where Delatraz is so strong, and it's keeping him the lead of the race as we go on to the 5th and final tour. The Swiss racer trying to break the toe. Nato, a winner around here in 2016, going for the lunge, going for the lead and taking it away from Louis Delatraz, who will try and stay calm, who has been forced onto the gravel, and Nato takes the lead on the final lap. Delatraz losing the momentum all the way up the hill. Jack Aitken involved, Guan Yu Zhou involved, and instead of battling for the lead, he's now trying to hang on to P2. Nato looks to have won this one if he can just keep it neat and tidy, and Delatraz won't like that at all.
Oh, that was a little bit naughty from Nato, if in my opinion anyway. Zhou trying to go all the way around the outside of Jack Aitken. Can he get the traction? Oh,
yeah.
He gets pushed off as well.
That's the problem. If you put your car in that position, you're always going to be invited to take a good hard look at the gravel, and so it proved. Jack Aitken hanging on to 3rd position, and Norman Nato, that was last of the late breakers stuff down to turn 1, where he's in the mix for victory first time around, and race control have had a look at it, and he just has the sector where he had an incident in the first race to negotiate, and it will be the checkered flag for Norman Nato, just like 2016 back in GP2. Robust move against a competitor. Louis Delatraz couldn't keep the lead. Norman Nato's done the job. 1 corner to go, and Norman Nato can see the checkered flag and wins the sprint race in Barcelona. A superb performance, and you wouldn't know he's won, but he has. Nato has taken the checkered flag. Louis Delatraz in 2nd. Strong race from him, and Jack Aitken did hold off Guan Yu Zhou. Arthur Leclerc, unbelievable, from the back to 5th position. Phenomenal stuff from him.
Looked like more of an inconvenience for Nato for winning that race, wasn't it?
I've got stuff to be doing, lads.
Yeah, I don't need to do interviews. But yeah, fantastic drive from him. It was very, very interesting into turn 1. Lots of wheel banging, but what would you say? Would you say that was fair, Tom?
Interesting use of the word fair there. However, I have to say, Norman Nato, listen, we know it. You put something in the oven, you know it's got a time limit, you need to go and get it as soon as it's done. Gentlemen, what a race. Who really stood out for you in that race? Was it Arthur Leclerc coming from the back of the grid right up to 5th?
Oh, that was outstanding. That was outstanding. It's the sort of thing where you check your timing page and you're like, that can't be right. Unbelievable. No penalties, no corner cutting, just in another league on that opening lap. I can't wait to go and see that back, because that would have been something special. That would have been really, really impressive from him, especially after being spun round in that first race and then having the retirement on the final lap. Would have been easy for him to lose interest. Great response from him.
Indeed. I loved it as well, Alex, when you said at one point he's going to have a good hard look at the gravel. That's Guan Yu Zhou.
Yeah.
He went on the outside, and I tell you what, it was brilliant work from Jack Aitken to keep that 3rd position in that sprint race. But Norman Nato, what a race from him, and was patient as well. And were you impressed by how patient he was for the final lap to do the overtake?
I mean, patient, and then there was, oh, it's the last lap, I'm going to send it. So, you know, he said it was great action, great to watch. I'm sure Delatraz isn't particularly happy with that move, but he came out on top, and Delatraz just about managed to hold on to P2, so, yeah, great racing.
OK, and finally, just to put you on the spot, gentlemen, and a brilliant work from you as well for our 2nd ever F2 virtual race event. Out of the 2 drivers, who impressed you the most?
Zhou. I think Zhou was consistently really good. Obviously, we had that incident, but let's not debate it. I think Zhou overall was the most impressive.
Absolutely, I agree. I think his pace was excellent, and we don't quite know what happened with him and Arthur Leclerc. Arthur Leclerc, the other megastar today, for roaring back through and giving us so much entertainment there. All
right, let's have a quick interview with one of the drivers. I believe that we've got with us now the winning driver, Norman Nato. Are you there? Norman, are you there?
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
man.
brilliant. We were saying, Norman, you didn't look that happy with winning the sprint race.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I've made a really stupid mistake, and yeah, I was like P1 I wasn't able to go for P1. It was just too fast for me. I just tried to manage a gap, and I said, okay, P2 will be better than nothing. Let's say, and at the end, like I just made a stupid mistake, so yeah, I wasn't really happy.
Matt Gallagher said it wasn't patience. You just decided this is the last lap. I'm going to send it.
Yeah, exactly. Race 2, I was like, I have nothing to lose. In Bahrain already, like I won on track, but I've got penalized. So I was like, this time I won this win. So I just went for it, and at the end I won. So yeah, it was really good fun, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it.
Massively enjoyed it. Listen, Norman, I'll let you go and enjoy winning that sprint race, and hopefully we'll see you again on the 24th of May. So listen, there you go. 24th of May is when we're going to have the next bit of F2 virtual action for you on another circuit. Stay tuned to find out where we will be heading, but get that date in the diary, 24th of May. In the meantime, that's not it for the sim racing action this way tonight from the Gfinity Arena. We're going to have the pro esports guys getting into the pro exhibition, and then the main event at 6 p.m. BST, British Summer Time, as we have the Spanish Virtual Grand Prix. Listen, guys, stay safe, and we'll see you again on the 24th of May.
What's that?
I thought you were being counted down, then you've gone too quickly. So you're like, BST, British Summer Time.